Hello, and welcome to this episode's Reset podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignot. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series, where I interview an amazing Black woman every single day for Black History Month. And today, I'm super excited to talk to Jenn Shaw, who's a filmmaker, writer, director, and I hear her incredible story and so much goodness to share. Take a listen. Hey, Jen.
Hey, so good to be here.
Thank you so much for doing this and being part of 29 Days of Magic. So this, as I said, super easy, light and breezy. First questions are always same, answers are always very interesting. So, Jen, what was your first job?
Oh man, like my job. I
Where we
mean,
want?
it's so funny because I've had so many jobs. I interned for free anywhere, but my first like paying job, I worked at Forbes.com in ad operations. Bless those people. It was a really kind of like non-creative job, but I think it was my first experience and exposure to digital media, and it got me a lot of into it to kind of just establish my career. But yeah, it wasn't fun. I did not like it, but that was my first. Yes. And then I was like, that was like that age where you're like in your 20s and you're like, what are these taxes? What is this? They take it from.
All this money I thought I was making? No, you weren't. That was a lie. Two-thirds of it's gone, and you have $7 left by the time it's the 16th of the month.
Yeah, and I was living in New York and like
Ooh.
college and I had no money and it was just even when I worked I had no money. So it was pretty depressing, but like I said, it made me go somewhere. It was like stepping stone, but it definitely was not the best job, but you know, it
You
is
know,
what.
it's interesting. It's at every episode I ask this question, and for everyone who hates the first job that they mention, they always talk about how it propelled them to like never doing that again,
Oh
or
yeah.
okay, like so. It always does resonate with everybody. So okay, we started out at Forbes, realized hated it, and now you've got this awesome career. So how did that all come to be? Like, what was that career journey like? How did we get to be chatting today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long one. It's still going. I mean, anyone who's in a creative field knows that there's no like right like kind of direct protection. In some cases, like if you're a doctor, you go and you get your degrees and you go to a hospital and you do the doctor thing. Like I make it simple, it's not. But definitely in a career that you've chosen to be, do film and TV, I think there are a lot of twists and turns and I definitely had that. Like I said, I interned a lot of places for free. And then I navigated my way through kind of a changing landscape. Like when I was coming up, everybody was really focused on reality TV. I think television hadn't really came into its prime. And being a filmmaker was really just limiting, especially for Black women. I think a lot of us just didn't have a lot of filmmaker role models. I mean, you had the Julie Dashes and some people that have done some really amazing things, but I think we were still trying to establish, the diversity levels in that field. So I worked in ad agencies in New York as a producer. I worked as a producer and PA on set. And one of my first roles, big roles, was at ESPN as a producer. And, I've always loved sports growing up. I was an athlete growing up. And I think I kind of used that kind of inroads as a way to start establishing my career. And while I was there, I was doing my own short films and just really building my reel, even though I wasn't really the director quite yet. And just starting to like learn the craft that I had taken from being at NYU as a film student, writing more and just really finding my footing. And through a series of twists and turns through all of that, I ended up, really being able to pivot to the director role using the short film medium and then also continuing being a commercial director and working in that lane as well. So it just really was all came together after a lot of things that you didn't foresee that would be your job, and that includes working at Forbes.com and ad ops as well.
Huh. And that's how it always is. Fellow NYU grad. Were you in Tisch?
Yeah, I was in Tisch. I was in the film division at Tisch School of the Arts. I loved it. It was really a great school. I think that I was from Kentucky, so as a girl from Kentucky, I had no exposure to
Oh
entertainment.
wow, culture shock.
Yeah, definite culture shock. Like I remember just being away from home and being on campus because I did like an exchange program in California a little bit. So I had a little bit of understanding of being away from home, but I just remember just like standing in the middle of it all and just being so like, what do I do with this? Where am I, you know? But I think the good part is I had really good professors that they saw it in me that I was going to work hard and I didn't take anything for granted. So any opportunity I had to apply, to do, to work, I took it. Like I was a really just like, I'm going to do several internships. I'm going to show up. I'm going to learn. And I just took it all in. And I think that's what really helped me be successful and actually do that career thing. Because a lot of times, a lot of people go to school, especially for a specific thing, and you may not do it. I mean, that might just not be for you. But in my case, I think I found my footing and it was for me.
That's awesome. And it's oftentimes you either hear like I had really supportive professors or I had really crappy professors. There's never an in between when it comes to these sorts of things. And it's awesome to hear that like that those folks were like, yep, Jen's got something here.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody. I mentioned
Some.
I mentioned I did a California program, and when I applied to NYU, I'll never forget. I don't even remember his name because he's not worth remembering, but he was a professor that I was in this film kind of class, and I remember telling him I was applying to NYU. I mean, I had really good grades. Obviously, like I said, I was willing to work. I had made like my application. I was so excited, and he said, you're probably not gonna get into NYU. And kind of like, oh, you tell me that? That's the worst. I mean, that's the best thing you can do for me, actually. Best
You're
worst.
gonna draw. I was like, I'll show you.
Pretty much. I said, I'll show you. And I applied. I remember later coming back, like, towards the end of the semester, whenever I found out I got accepted and telling him. And he was like, oh, congratulations. I was like, mm-hmm. See, I did
It,
it.
it's like, will you ever doubt a black woman? Get out of here. What is wrong with
I
you?
know. I'm
Like
gonna do
stupid.
exactly.
No, you won't have any. We won't stop. Like not even an option. The hell, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so fact that you're an actual director in this crazy world that we live in terms of the creative field, for folks out there who want to learn how to become a director, because everyone says, I want to be a director, but like it's a bunch of BS. Like, what are some practical things that you can kind of give as advice for like if being a director is something you want to do in the future, you should start doing blah now.
Yeah, I mean, all the advice I'm gonna give you or anybody would be definitely like you have to be very active of what you want to do. So it's like putting yourselves in the moment, like trying to find opportunities to like, PA, be on set, and just get exposure to the industry in general. I mean, we use a certain jargon, we talk a certain way, we know equipment. There's like actual a craft. And I think as I do think of myself as a performance director, I love working with talent and a craft director. I'm not super techy. I can get in there, but I definitely wanting to collaborate with my team for some of those aspects too, because I love smart people around me. And I'd say even when you're starting out and you're really young, you do the same principle. It's like all about your support system. Like, I mean, it's the cliche thing to say, but it's like find that group of filmmakers that want to do things like you and band together and make it happen. I make a lot of like coming of age sports and kind of like young films, and it's like be the Goonies, like literally, like find that
Of
group
course.
ragtag
Yeah.
filmmakers and literally, find that story you want to tell and make it. I mean, I a lot of times get the question of like, where did you start? How'd you do this? And it's like, I bet on myself every time. Like nobody was like, here's money to do that, or here's this opportunity to direct when you never directed. You have to show people that you can, you know, make something. And that might not come like immediately. Like I said, you might spend a few years on set in other roles. You can come from the crew roles, you can come from producing roles like I did. But I think like don't take that for granted. Like, take the time to learn that because there's going to be a point where people do entrust you with a set and there's money behind it and there's more pressure and there's things you should know. And the last thing you want to do is to finally be directing and don't know how to lead a team. So I think just taking the time to actually like learn it and just also just having fun along the way is the best recommendation I would give anyone.
Awesome. And I think that's so key about it. It's like one, you know yourself, bet on it. especially if it's Black women. Like, who's
Mhm.
better than us? Who's better than us? Come on, let's be real here. We're the most educated. We are the fastest growing in entrepreneurship. Like, this is not a it's not a joke. It's for real. So better yourself, but also find that awesome crew of good people. And I think that's so important for folks to understand that like you can't. This isn't a solitary journey, no matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, and especially on set, I mean, I count on all the people around me that, my production leads, my department heads, producers. It's not just me out there. Sometimes it feels like that way because you're responsible, and that's, I think, the role, and that's what you learn to kind of take on and manage that pressure and those expectations. But I think you hit the nail on the head about, as a Black woman, especially, their expectations and things that people may underestimate me, but also you can spin it and you can take a lot of the strengths and things that are inherently us and pour that into how you lead people and really benefit from and lean into some of the things that people may not know about you or may not understand, that you can craft stories that are new and refreshing and relate to everybody universally, but really dig into the Black experience and the Black female experience as we do.
So true. So you obviously are busy, and there was a strike and all this other stuff. So and now we're in this very unusual climate. So what does Jen do for Jen? Like, what do you do for yourself, Jen?
Ha! Well, I have a toddler, so that's always going to be a thing. Being a mom, being a wife is a job in itself. Bless everyone who does either role, even aunties out there, word for the role. For myself, I think I'm always going to write, which is a part of my work, but I have a lot of projects I write on that like may not be specifically a commercial or a big thing. I have those passion things. I love to travel. When we can, me and my family like to go to different places, and I'll piggyback off of jobs, don't get me wrong. I just did this
That's a
stuff.
good move.
Yeah, I know, this doc project out in South Africa, and I was like, we're gonna stay. But I think traveling, spending time with my family is a really, and friends too, is really important to me. Like, you can't be a writer and an artist if you don't have anything to do that about. And I think taking the time to just not do anything has been something I've had to learn as I've gotten older, to found a balance, that those moments are just important to me as an artist, is to like work, work, work. I definitely need times where I don't do anything all day, or I just binge watch a good series, or take a trip and don't take my laptop or barely look at it when I'm there. It's a healthy way for me to not only relax and like refresh, but also like find story. I mean, so many times I have ideas for story just by interacting with people and talking to them. And I'm like, oh, and it stays in the back of my mind. And I think any good creative takes that and it really impacts the work they do. But if you don't give yourself that time, you're not going to be able to tell those different stories. So it always going to relate back to my work because I love it, but I still find the time to like take a break and reset too.
Awesome. And it's so necessary. And doing nothing is really hard for us. Similarly, I have it like, I'm gonna sit here there.
Yeah, I feel guilty about doing nothing all the time.
Yeah, it's like it's generational because we're like, no, we should be working. Like, no, actually, literally sit here. Go sleep on
Yeah.
this bed that's made of clouds. If you ever go to Miraval Spa, their beds are made of clouds.
Oh,
So,
go there.
word to the wise, like they have this feather bed situation that's like the best thing on the planet, and they sell it for like $5,000. That's how good it is. So, when in doubt, sleep. So, thinking about all the kind of really amazing things that you've done, what's the thing that you're like, I never thought this would work, but it actually did?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those weird people that like I kind of go into everything thinking everything I do will work. I mean, and it's not in like this kind of arrogant way. I feel like it's more in a way of if I'm gonna do it, I have faith in my ability and I
Yep.
have I can do it. So I think I've always been that way. Like even when people talk about imposter syndrome on panels, I'm always like, I've never had that. And I truly mean,
Same girl,
I'm
same.
like, I
What
am
is that?
like, no, no, no. I deserve all of it. I'm because I work, I do it.
Damn right.
I'm worthy. And I think that's been instilled in me from my parents, from my family, that the worthiness is there. So, but but there are projects, oh man, that are tough. I did a recent series that I really love called Running While Black for Adidas, and it was a tough one. And I think it was tough because there was a lot of moving pieces and parts. But I think it's always tough, especially when we talk about in this climate, to talk about things that are specifically Black in a climate of where people are starting to not necessarily value those very curated stories, and to start to push back and saying, we're in the middle of DEI, is on attack. And I think this was like 2 years ago, but you were starting to get hints of it. It was like the George, Floyd black boxes had the performative ones that most people had done were starting to kind of fade. And I think the hustle to find Black creatives just cause you're trying to do what's right. And I put that in quotes because I don't think everybody was doing it for the right reasons, but I think we were at least doing it. And I think that project was tough for me, and I'm glad it turned out beautiful, and I love a lot of things about it. It's a 3-part series with Vice. I think it was tough just because, yeah, like when I'm storytelling and it involves any tough subject that's specifically about the Black community, I mean, you always have so many stakeholders involved, and you want to speak for the Black experience, but you can also say, I'm only one person, we're not monolith. And I think to try to, I was the executive producer and directed all the pieces, to try to like empower my team to, give feedback and really honor that Black experience, but not from a place of trauma, I think was really hard. And I think it was trying to find a way to uplift and celebrate, but still make it a story people would be interested to see. When traditionally, I think unfortunately, we have been trained to see Black people in drama all the time to make it interesting. So I think I'm still grappling with that and figuring it out with projects, because most of my projects do have Black casts or like predominantly, as Black woman experience, Black girl stories, and I'm still, I think, working through that with every project, just get the right people that understand that and can support a vision that may sometimes not feel comfortable to them, because that's what we kind of need, especially in this world.
Awesome and so very timely as we're in at this current moment that we're in. But just continue to tell our stories because we're not all the same. As dumb as people think that we are, have the exact same experience and no one's different. It's like, no, every Black woman is different. Everyone has different
Mhm.
experiences.
Yeah.
And but they're beautiful stories to be told. I mean, that's really why I'm doing 29 days because it's so necessary for folks to know that this is what the world looks like. So, last question for you: how do you find your joy?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm inherently try to see things on the upside. I think I find my joy through the people around me that I love. I try to be thankful of what I have. Like I said, I'm very focused on doing this, doing this, doing that. But I think I try to take a step back, especially on many days, and just be in the moment. I think being present. I take photos, but I don't like because I'm in the moment. I like to kind of, take a walk outside if I can. I love to work out and just kind of, take myself away from all the noise. And I think it helps me find inner joy. But I mean, my son is my joy, so that's an easy one. And my husband is my joy. My mom is my joy. My dad, my family, they're all my joy. So I think I find it in them. I think generational joy is what I've always had, and that keeps me pushing, even when, the news cycle is crazy right now, and who knows what's going on in the world. I try to think about them and what they need from me and what I need from them. And I continue to feel joyful in that way.
Oh, so beautiful. And what a wonderful way to end the podcast. Jen, you're just so impressive and amazing. I'm so glad we were connected, and I'm so honored you were able to spend some time talking about how amazing you are and sharing your joy with the world. Thank you so much for being part of 29 Days of Magic. For all the details in the show notes for folks to see some of your work and connect with you, because that's literally why I'm doing this for this month. Because there's so many wonderful, impactful voices out there that need to be heard louder and shouted from your chops. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the chat.
Awesome. Thanks. And that is our show.